Welcome to this week's edition of Engineers Building Businesses, the podcast of the Texas Engineering and Technology Network. Every week we'll be showcasing the achievements of members of TETN so you can hear what they've been up to and get their advice for building a successful tech business here in Texas. We'll also bring you helpful information on how you can quickly grow and succeed in your business. So welcome to this edition of the Engineers Building podcast. And as we do on a weekly basis, we invite members of the Texas Engineering and Technology Network to join us to showcase their businesses and showcase themselves. And this week, I'm very pleased to have Rushikesh Kulkarni, one of the TETN members, and he's the co-founder and CGO of a brand new company. So Rushi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. Very good morning to you, and thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and I'm really interested to hearing about your new business. So let's go. Let's learn a bit about you first, and then we'll talk about the business in a second. Okay? So,
Sure.
So tell me, what led you to become an entrepreneur? That's always a good starting question.
Yeah, so I'm an engineer by heart. I'm a computer engineer, and during my engineering days, I always wanted to build something. And I always wanted to build something of my own, build a company, and that's something that inspired me. I started my journey from Infosys, and Infosys is one of the big tech giants in the service industry based out of India and now global. And that opened a lot of things in my head, saying, hey, if somebody can do this, why cannot I? Right, creating so much employment, creating a value for such a lot of businesses, their clients, etc. And that's where the journey started, and that's where the motivation came from. So something that I wanted to always build, and then I tied it up with the profession that I knew, which was software engineering.
Cool. So you are the exact demographic, an engineer who decided to build a business.
Yes.
Perfect. Oh, that's great news. That's great news. So let me dig a bit deeper. What's the, we start, as you say, we start in engineering. We want to build something, and then we decide actually we want to have an impact on the world. So we decide to build a business, and that's a very different lifestyle compared to sat in front of a computer doing coding or building a bridge or whatever discipline we're in. So
Yes.
What's the biggest transformation, the biggest personal transformation that you've experienced while you've been building this business?
That's a very good question. Initially I wanted to build the business for the feel of it, right? Because I wanted to build something of my own. But when I started growing it, and my team started growing, and I started, we started building software in healthcare, right? And that software was eventually for our clients, and that software was eventually been deployed, and it was actually helping a lot of patients. So two things that really kind of motivated me to go the long way. One was something that my company was building, for our customers, was kind of getting used and helping a lot of other people. So the reach was really huge, right? And second, when the team was growing, I kind of felt I'm responsible for the entire team, right? And me being able to run, say, 50 families, because those people are working with me, it was a different feeling altogether, and that kind of motivated me. And I think that was one of the biggest transformation, I would say, from the thrill of just creating a company to actually providing value to the end users of the things that we are building. That was really amazing.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's a very important point, because when you become a business owner, when you become an entrepreneur, not only do you have responsibility for your clients, but you have responsibility for your team and for their families. So it changes the whole dynamic.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's a very big learning, especially for people starting up, because they say, well, I want to build a business, I want to build something, and then they don't realize all of the the additional layers that come in with being an entrepreneur and a business owner.
Yes.
Okay. So you've clearly, you are mission driven, and you want to make an impact on society, and you've clearly got this love of your team and their families and everything. So what's been the biggest source of inspiration for you in building your business?
In terms of a person or in terms of something that I believe, would like to understand a bit better.
What makes you get? I mean, either what makes you get out of bed in the morning to drive forward, or when things start falling apart, the wheels fall off the bus, which happens. Who do you look to? Is there a business mentor? Is there some sort of figurehead that you look to? What is it that makes you keep moving forward even when the wheels fall off the bus?
Yes, sure. So I think first of all, the biggest motivation, as I said, is creating that impact in the world. Something that I love. My company would love building, solving real business challenges and real world challenges. Right. That's something that kind of keeps motivating. That's one. When the things start falling apart, there are 2 3 people that I admire, right? So the first one, I started growing up watching a lot of what Steve Jobs is doing. So Steve Jobs is like the first idol. Very interestingly, we share birthdays, so 24th February. So that was something that I love, the fact that I share a birthday with Steve Jobs, right? So that was very interesting. And then when I joined Infosys, Narayan Murthy was the second inspiration for me. Right. And then, one of the things that really inspires me is looking at my father, because he has literally from zero grown to a really well a position where he could afford to educate us. And I hear stories from him where things were tough to start with, right? But then eventually he made it good. So I think that's something that kind of inspires me. So these are the three, I would say, role models, or to say. And then yes, providing value to with the work that I'm doing, and as I said, taking responsibilities of the families that are working with me, who have trusted me to join me. That's one of the key aspects. That's kind of keeps you going.
Absolutely, and it's very very clear. There's a strong family influence all the way through what you're doing. That's very very clear. That's great news. Good. Okay, so I mean, you have the big announcement. You've just launched the new company. So how old is the new company now?
The new company is almost 6 to 7 months old. The company was started in February.
Okay.
So that's where it is today.
So so give us a bit of background about the company, and then we'll dive into some of the details, please.
Sure. So the company is called as IKEA Technologies. IKEA is, IKEA or Aikya is a Sanskrit word. So its origin is a Sanskrit word which means togetherness. Right. Company focuses on three core offerings. One is program management for bigger programs, large for mid-tier to enterprise customers, because we see there is a huge gap there. So software program management, right? Second offering is building global capability centers in India for companies based out of US and Europe. Right, that's the second offering. And third is multi-year strategic outsourcing. So can say a mid-tier kind of companies avail the benefits of a multi-year strategic outsourcing, and that's what we want to look at. So those are the three key offerings. We are a group of people who have experience building organizations, who have worked in different size of organizations, right from enterprises like Infosys to mid-level companies to startups. So I had my own startup, which got acquired, and that's how I also have an experience of mid-level organization, how things work, how things grow. And that experience is something that we want to bring in to help our end clients do good in outsourcing.
Okay. All right. So I can see the sort of model coming together. So let's dig a bit deeper into that then. So you've got basically three product offerings. So I'd like to dig a bit deeper.
Mhm.
So why is software program governance so important?
Sure. For that, let me pull up this slide. Right. So we did a study, and there's a McKinsey research which says software projects run the highest risk of cost and schedule overruns. Right. And what the numbers say is, they did a study of around 5,000 plus IT projects, and they said 45% of the projects run over budget, 7% over time, and almost 50%, which is staggering, give less value. right? And the core reason behind this is the whole program governance, because most of the software programs, when they are software programs or software outsourcing, when it's done, the biggest impact is how it is managed, right? So one of the key aspects is better management of strategy and stakeholders when you are actually outsourcing, like say, $1 million program, right? Better management of budget and schedule, and all of that kind of comes under the whole program management, right? uh, Thing is, outsourcing might look simple, but it is not, and that's where if it is managed really well, you can actually avoid some of these budget overruns and time overruns and overall time to market, which has its intangible losses, right? So use of these governance methodologies and program management is something which is really, really key. Of course, some of the, say, Fortune 500 companies or Fortune 1000 companies can afford it to an extent. They build their in-house team, who is taking responsibility of that. But then there is a customer segment which has no clue about it. That's what our research kind of came up with, and that's the white space we want to address. And that's why program management becomes really, really, really important for the success of your overall outsourcing program.
Yeah, and I mean, I think your numbers actually tell a better story than it really is. I mean, the last job I did in the corporate world was a global IT rollout of a project management solution, a global project management solution. And the company I was with was a multinational oil and gas company. They'd been running 3 major IT initiatives over about 5 years. They spent 42 million euros on these 3 initiatives.
Wow.
When I left, and mine was the smallest project, but I got dropped in because the project was falling apart. So they asked me to go and try and recover it. When I left, mine was the only project that actually got delivered. The other 2 projects failed outright, and that the company got virtually no value whatsoever. And they had some of the big 3 consulting companies working with them to help with the implementation. Yep. So, to say that they 45% over budget, 7% over time, 56%, I think that's much more rosy than we really see. I mean, I still think it's, from the specs I've seen, 2 out of 3 projects just failed to deliver.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a huge risk to the business and a huge loss. So I think you've really hit the nail on the head here. If you've got the experience and the skills and the capability to help mid-sized companies deliver on time, that's a huge value statement. Absolutely.
Yep. And that's exactly what we are addressing, as you rightly mentioned. And because a lot of these businesses, right, their core, of course, they would turn it around by digitalization, but their core is not digitalization. They know, well, for example, manufacturing, right? They know what they're doing really well, but say if they want to implement digitalization or bring in the digital transformation for their business, they're going to outsource, and that's where the gap is. Because if it's not done right, there's a waste of time, waste of money, and at the same time, it's a competitive world, so they have to be on their toes.
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing I would challenge, and I'd love to discuss this in more detail, is using agile methodologies. I mean, that's how my project started. We're using traditional agile and the sprints and everything. I abandoned that after about 5 or 6 months, because what was happening is we were developing the software, and I had 2 teams in India working for me. So the software was getting built, but unless I was able to bring pressure to bear on my users, it never got accepted. It never got brought in. So I actually went to, and again, I've got a military background, so the old, the very top-down command and control waterfall type projects didn't work. So we ended up with a hybrid model, and we, in your typical sort of pure software development, you're running 2-week sprints. We moved our sprint cycle out to 90 days. So we took a whole segment or a whole user group, said, okay, we're going to onboard you, we're going to modify, we're going to refine it, and then you've got 16 weeks of user experience. Then we'll do your customization. But we found that so the software teams could still work in their 2-week cycles, But project-wise, we said, okay, we have a hard milestone in 90 days, and it's gonna be rolled out. You're gonna test it, and then we'll go in. Then we'll go into your optimization sprint when we do the customization. So, have you ever experienced that sort of issue with your clients?
Yeah, we do. And I think one of the key aspects here is actually, while doing this agile, and of course, there are different streams of agile that have evolved now. But I think one of the key aspects here is involving customer and regular demos. What happens is, when we say agile, we are kind of rolling out sprints every 15 days. But to your point, right? Even if you're doing a 2-week sprint or a 90-day sprint, are you taking enough feedback of the customer that goes into the next sprint, right? And that's one of the critical aspects, because if you keep on building after every 15 days and customer is not involved in this, or in fact, to a certain extent, if there is any direct user group that can be involved, that's also a really good thing. So that feedback makes it even more better, right? So, and accordingly, then if say it takes 7 days to test, maybe then your sprints has to be 4 weeks or 3 weeks, right?
Sure.
But yes, of course, pure agile might not work in all the cases, especially for big engagements, right? And it has to be kind of tailor made as per the customer requirement.
Okay, so that's a very good point. And I'll tell you, one of my biggest issues wasn't so much the dev team, it was the users. Either not getting them to commit to a time to accept the software, or the other one I had, the biggest problem I had is some of the user groups were so welded to their existing in-house, they created these horrible systems where they had 27 people running different spreadsheets, and they got data from all these different sources. None of it was API'd. It was all manual transfer. And they created this horrible monster. And we said, hey, here is a world-class product. It'll give you everything you need to run your projects. And then they said, well, our old system would do this. Yeah, but do you need that? And probably my biggest issue as the PM for this global rollout was actually user management saying, why do you want all that junk? We're bringing you into maybe not the 22nd century, but we're trying to drag you kicking and screaming into the 21st century. Why do you want to bring all this legacy junk with you that serves no purpose? And in most cases, it was, well, we've always done it this way.
Yep.
How do you, I mean, because that's not IT, that's not software. How do you handle that sort of problem?
I think, it has to be divided in 2 phases. Today, customer is very capable of making decisions, and they have much more data points available today, and they are continuously talking to each other, right? So a lot of onboarding has to happen in the design phase itself, and design phase is like one of the most critical aspects, where probably you show a clickable prototype and say, hey, this is how it's going to look. What is your feedback? And that perception of customer actually giving the inputs and the software being built as per their wish is really, really important, because that's where they're already onboarded. Right. So I think the onboarding or the adoption has to start at the design phase itself, so they are excited when the build is going to come, right? I think that's one of the key things that we try to do, for all the relevant users that are going to avail this. That's one. And I think second is a really second, which is really important, is a really solid training program or customer onboarding program, right? Once the software is launched, if it is for an internal usage, right, internal adoption, that training, that kind of a small center of excellence, train the trainer kind of a model has to be in place, which I believe software companies also should take care of to an extent, because that really helps. That's actually an additional value add.
Yeah, absolutely. And we ended up doing exactly that with a train the trainer. And I mean, I ended up traveling around the world. I actually got to India. I was down in Argentina, into Europe, doing this rollout, doing this train the trainer to create champions to then roll it out to the business segments. Okay, yes. So you've obviously you've gone through the hoops a lot. So what is the model? What is the Acquia model that you bring to people?
Great that you asked. So let me kind of take you through how, of course, but for everybody who's viewing, right, how the whole software outsourcing works and how are these programs, right? So first is like the internal model where a company says, I'm going to hire internally, I'm going to build my own tech team and manage everything and build the system that I want to build, right? So that's like the internal model. Second is kind of a staffing based model where we say, the company says, you know what, I have all the people that I need. I have the program manager. I'm going to do the testing. But hey, you know what? I probably need a specialized skill that I will go to a vendor and, kind of get them on a contract, right? That's the second staffing model. The third model is managed service model, which has been extensively used today, right? Which says that I will outsource the whole thing to my partner or a vendor, right? They will help me deliver. They will help me do the project execution. They will help me do QA QC. I will do the program management. A part of it probably will be done by, say, the partner, but I am the one who's driving the whole thing. If I go wrong, everything goes wrong. One of the key things here is the project management, which is with the vendor or the partner, right? What happens here is, very naturally there is a conflict of interest because the project manager belongs to the same team who are developing the software, right? So, some typical challenges that come in is red flags are not raised at the right time. Probably certain communications are not done at the right time because, project manager is saying, hey guys, you fix it and then I will tell it to the client, right? Probably all of us has done that to a certain extent. And if we don't fix it, then I tell. If we fix it, we don't need to tell, right? But what I personally believe and what we believe in IKEA is, it's all a people journey, right? Just like the partner itself, the client are also group of people, and if you involve them in the decision making process, it's all going to be very smooth, right? So that's one of the key things. And that was the gap, right? That's the conflict of interest, not raising things at the right time, and the whole project management, right? That's where the IKEA model comes into play, where we are saying IKEA would take care of stakeholders, would take care of stakeholder management, would take care of requirement management and program management, and also help in UAT, right? So we are actually the extended PMO of for our clients, right? We are actually making sure that the whole IT program becomes successful, right? So we are taking the onus of the delivery, we are taking the onus of success, and we are saying we will also bring in the right set of partners. So that's our model. So within IKEA, we have solid group of people who have done, program management, program governance, software delivery for more than 20 plus years, right? So that's the core team, and we are saying whatever digital transformation program demands, it might demand, say, SAP, it might demand Salesforce, it might demand different technologies. We would bring the right partner, we will get it delivered to the right partner, you will know who the right partner is, right? And but the onus is with us. So that's the IKEA model. So what we are also doing here is, typically what happens is in the managed service, the stakeholders, the requirement management of the PMO is also learning on the job, because as I said, if you take an example of manufacturing, it might not come to them naturally, the software management piece. We are saying, give it to us, you focus on what you do the best, which is running your company, but we act as your extended PMO and we help you get this done, right? To kind of give you an analogy, it's probably like an interior designer. So for a house, so you give a contract to the interior designer, they will come in, they will know which painter to use, which plumber to use, what shades of curtains to select, etc. You are still giving the input to the interior designer that this is how my house should look, right? Interior designer is going to bring in different vendors for that specific job, get it done, and the onus, if it turns out to be good or bad, is on interior designer. So we are kind of at that space. So consulting you to for the success of your IT program. But the biggest thing is, we also take onus of the execution piece, right, and the whole success piece. So that's IKEA model.
That's very good. Yeah, and I mean the PMO once we got our PMO working effectively, the project went much more smoothly. But it was a vertical learning curve for several months trying to get the wheels back on the project and then get the PMO functional. So I can see that. I can see the value statement there. That's cool. Okay, and the last thing you mentioned was the long-term strategy. So in the West, we're very, very short-term. Next quarterly earnings report, very, very sort of transactionally focused. So how are you? How do you bring value in the long-term strategy?
Yeah, so what we're saying is a lot of big companies, right? When I say big in terms of revenue or Fortune 500 companies, for example, have been availing this since a long time. So they will tie up with a strategic vendor, right? They will tie up with a strategic partner, may it be the likes of Microsoft, may it be the likes of say Infosys or bigger companies, right? And they would define a long-term strategy for 3 to 4 years along with what it's going to cost, right? But while doing so, because they're planning for the next 3 years, they also get good value out of it because since it's a long-term plan, uh, Microsoft, Amazon, or the likes of the SIs can actually provide a better economical value, right? They can say, hey, if you're tying up with me for 3 years, I will help you in the whole digital transformation journey. If you had done it step by step, it would have cost probably $2 billion. But since we are tying up long term, I will provide you certain credits, and we might even get it done in say the 50% of the cost, or 40% of the cost, which is the saving, right? That half a million is the saving over the 500 million is the saving over the next 3 years, right? So similar model, we want to be the strategic advisors to mid-tier companies. So revenue 100 million to say $1 billion, and say, hey, you know what? You know that you're going to need technology. We know how we can help you. Why not we think about long term, where it's a win-win for everybody? So that's the thought behind this.
That's very clever. Very clever. Okay, so we're coming to the end of this segment. So I always ask you, I mean, you've obviously done a great job. You built a company, you expanded it, you had an exit. You're now building another company which has got a great business model. So I always ask people to share what's the one piece of critical advice you would give to a founder or an entrepreneur or somebody who's just starting out on this journey? What's the biggest lesson you would share with them to help them be successful?
Interesting. Yeah. So I think couple of them, but one of the biggest is to be persistent, to just hang on. There are good days, there are bad days. You just need to hang on, and believe in yourself. That's one of the really important things, right? And if you want to fail fast and keep pivoting, but then hang on to your broader vision, and things will fall out. Things will fall in place eventually.
Okay, that's very good. Yeah, fail fast, but never lose hope. Always keep working forward. Okay,
Yes.
So last one, I've just put the ticker on the bottom where we can download a resource document. So I would ask people to visit that site, and you've given us some great information on the business model and the service you offer. So we've got about 40 seconds left. Is there any final thing you'd like to say, Rushi, to share with the audience?
No, I mean, thank you, David, for inviting me, and for everybody, feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn through this download, right? And happy to help, happy to understand your problem and see if we can help you.
That's brilliant. Rushi, it's been an absolute pleasure. And thanks for coming on the show. And thanks for being a member of Texas Engineering and Technology Network.
Thank you, David. My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Texas Engineering and Technology Network Members Spotlight Podcast. If you're the owner or a senior decision maker in an engineering or tech company based in Texas, please look for our group on LinkedIn where you can apply to join. If you're listening through Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you are, please leave us a rating and a review. Let me know what you loved, what you'd like to see improved, and any ideas for future episodes. And if you're ready to take your engineering and tech business to the next level, please subscribe to the Engineers Building Business podcast. And also feel free to book a call with me to discuss how you can move faster towards your business goals, because it's no fun being stuck in a business that's not giving you the desired results. Just visit steampoweredconsulting.com/talkwithdavid or connect with me on LinkedIn. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks again for your support.